and be able to provide it out to those who are not able to make it for reasons that are not their making. So is everybody okay with that, with recording this session?
Yes.
Okay.
Fine.
All right, perfect. All right. So good evening, everyone, and welcome again. We have been really hoping and very excited in RADA to provide these sessions. We initially wanted to do these sessions, this workshop, completely offline, physically, but we didn't have the chance to do so because of COVID. And we thought it necessary to postpone it. And then we finally decided to do it as an online version. So the only thing you need to pay now for this session is not a 2,000 francs for your lunch and your materials and your tea, but just the amount of data you have to use to come into this session and to learn. So this is one of the things that makes RADA to achieve its mission to actually empower young people to become better at creating the kind of nation that we want. And so we are really excited to do this session. So this particular session is one of 3 sessions on career orientation. And you know that career orientation includes a good number of things, but making a CV or writing your resume is just one of those key things within the realm of career that we thought is necessary to share. And so this online session will focus on career, on writing your CV. And so we're going to basically look at what a CV is all about, who reads a CV. So if you have some noise on your background, you can mute yourself. So we'll look at who reads a CV. We'll look at something we call a dumping ground, a CV dumping ground. Then we'll look at what you do before applying for a specific job or a specific opportunity where you need your CV. Can everybody hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. 5.5.
All right, can you still hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll look at the structure of a CV. We'll look at the format of a CV and the content, and that then we'll go to our Q&A session. So let me just be sure that everybody is admitted. All right, perfect. Okay, I think everybody is admitted. All right. Great. So this will be our outline for today. And so this particular session is created for those who are in specific need of a curriculum vitae. And what prompted this particular session is that I was discussing with a young person who wanted to apply to our organization for volunteering. And I simply asked for his CV. He was a university student, but his response was that he doesn't know what a CV is all about. I didn't respond to him until after 2 days when I thought to myself, maybe really he doesn't know. And then to my greatest surprise, truly, he never knew what a CV was all about. And I asked him if there were other students that he believes they do not know what a CV is all about. And I sent him to ask with his friends. And he came back and informed me that truly there were other students who would be interested in a session on how to make up your CV. And that just simply brought it straight to my mind that at one point I myself didn't know how to write a CV. In fact, a CV looked to me like a very heavy burden. And so I realized it was important to always provide these sessions so that those who do not yet have the full capability of using this tool to get their opportunities can be able to get their capacity built to do so. So that's why we have this session. So this session will be very useful for a good number of people. Someone who is looking for a job, if you're in a category of someone who is looking to get a job, that will be fine. We have so many people in our network who are not able to uh, uh, to respond to very good job opportunities that we receive and that we post in our RADA network forum. And they are so beautiful opportunities, but day in, day out, you find these youths asking for job opportunities, looking for jobs. We call it in Cameroon, showmen coming. They are showmen coming. They do not have work to earn from. So, but then there is this important tool that can assist you to get, and if you apply for a job without doing a very good CV, you're least likely to get the job. Or even if you're applying to attend a summit or a conference or whatever opportunity that requires you to send something like this, if you do not know exactly what to do, you're going to really not put up a very good application that can land you the job or land you the opportunity. Personally, I have had the opportunity I've been selected for more than 5 opportunities, including fellowships that are basically all about what your CV is saying. And so I've also worked as an administrative assistant in an organization with 4,000 staff and a program manager. And so I've been able to evaluate curriculum vitae for more than 400 curriculum vitae for people who are applying for jobs, different job opportunities. I've served in interview panels, shortlisted candidates. And so I have quite a good clue around what happens and how bad some of the CVs are and how you throw away some and how you look at some and you're like, oh my God, this shouldn't be, this person can't get it. So I hope that those looking for a job can benefit from this. Those who have no skills yet, sometimes you want to apply for a job and then you're wondering, hey, they are saying we need people who have job experience, who have a job experience. And you're wondering, why do they always want to say job experience when I'm still coming from university and I have no job experience? So this session is going to be handling even those who are fresh and do not yet have any job experience. So we're going to have those who are applying for fellowships or grants, those who want to apply for opportunities such as conferences. Sometimes they ask you for your CV and you need to put up a good CV for that. So we're going to be looking at that as well. And then applying for conferences, like I've said, and applying for a university degree. Maybe you want to go for graduate studies. You need a CV that goes along with your application. You may also just be applying for volunteering position because you want to get some experience, or you want to do either you want to get some experience, or you just want to have the opportunity to give in an organization your skill, your specific skill. You need to convey all of that information in a CV. So we hope that this session is going to be helpful. And why is it going to be useful? It's simply because the CV is one of the best ways to prepare you for more than 50% of your chances of getting that opportunity. 50% because there are other things for that your chances depend on, and not just the CV, but your CV plays a key role to make sure that you have that chance. In fact, without your CV, you lose a lot, but with a CV, you have a greater opportunity. Someone has to meet themselves. Someone has to meet themselves. Someone has to meet themselves. Okay. So let's look at what a CV really is. And the first thing to know about a CV is, like I said, this young man in university didn't know what a CV is. And a CV, it's basically called curriculum vitae. That's like a summary of what your life's work has been. So it relates information about yourself and your work, you know, to a job opportunity or any of those opportunities we have mentioned. It relays, it's basically a tool that relays yourself, that markets yourself, that sells you to whosoever is your audience. And you can have different sets of people that are your audience in this case. But the ultimate thing you're looking for your CV to do is to win you what we call interviews. Because when you submit your application and your CV, the next thing is that if you are shortlisted among the candidates whose CVs are impressive or whose resumes or summaries of professional background, or the application is reasonable or is attractive, you will be called for an interview for the opportunity, most likely. So one of the key ultimate reasons for your CV is so that you can get to the interview. So the big question is, who reads your CV? From my experience in working in a high management position in a major organization in Cameroon, I have this number of people that read your CV. You can have a selection committee that will see your CV. When we say selection committee, it doesn't necessarily mean, please, can everybody mute themselves? Some people have a lot of noise on the background. So you can have like a selection committee that I'll probably have to mute everybody, sorry. Okay, I think that helps, doesn't it? I think that should help. Okay, so you can have, so in a selection committee, normally you could have 2, 3, 4, 5 people in a panel, and they select, so you can have your CV passing through the hands of 2, 3, or 4 people, and this committee makes a decision around what they see in your CV, depending on what the criteria for the opportunity for selection in that opportunity that was set is. And so they use the criteria to be able to screen out. So you could also have hiring managers. So in some places they call them personnel managers or human resource managers. But you could have people who are directly related to the human resource pool of the organization, who are interested in who does what in the organization, what skills do they bring, and of course, what results would the organization have. So those people look at things from that perspective, and they're looking at the particular area they want to employ for. And so they're looking at the skill set that is coming in for that particular area. And so you have those human resource managers that will definitely here. Now you also have an interview panel. So sometimes a selection committee will look at your application and your resume or your CV, and then they will pass it on to a different interview panel. And the interview panel will still look at your CV, because the questions they will end up asking you and your interview panel will be related to the content of your CV. They definitely wouldn't ask you something that is not in your CV, or reflected, or at least reflected in your CV. So you could also have the director of an organization, like the CEO of an organization, someone at the very helm of the organization. Basically, in this case, the person probably is really aiming for someone very important, for someone really critical, for someone, you know, that they really want to make sure the person they are recruiting suits what the organization wants for the future. So, but you also have administrative and technical staff. So you may not have people in leadership position in that organization in that sense, but you might have key administrative staff. Like, for example, I was a key administrative staff, and I would normally always be put to represent the leaders of the organization in selection processes, in committees, in reviews, and things like that. So, but my opinion about you counts because of what I see in your application and in your curriculum vitae. And so there is also something called recruiters, who are basically middlemen, whose job mostly, and they are always out of the organization, their job is really to just pull together a number of people who are dropping applications to an organization, and then they receive a request from the leadership of the organization to select people who meet a particular criteria, and then they can do that. But recruiters, another sense of what recruiters do is that they basically just get what an organization wants, and then they go to wherever there is a pool of applicants, and then they select those who have the kind of skill that is required by that organization, and then they hand over to that organization to continue the process of interview. But what I wanted you to note as far as your CV is concerned, in bringing all of these people who read your CVs, is that these people, all of them are busy. I cannot imagine. There's one time I went through more than 200 applications, and I had to do shortlisting for those who should actually be considered, you know, for going to the next stage of the selection. And I can tell you that amidst my personally busy schedule, you had to go through more than those 200 applications or CVs, you know. And I can tell you that regardless of who is going through the CVs, the person is very busy. So the way you design your application or your curriculum vitae should be in such a way that it can reduce the person's work as much as possible. And this doesn't mean you should do it to be unnecessarily too short, but that you should watch out for certain things that we are going to say during the main content of this session. So note that all of these people are busy. So you need to make your CV to stand out. You need to make your CV to be a CV that speaks to exactly what the opportunity they want. You should be the square hole in the square peg. And I would say that if you don't believe you are even the square hole, or the square peg in the square hole, as they normally say, sorry, but if you don't believe you are, you should consider looking for another job, because there are so many jobs out there. In fact, there are so many jobs, and you will definitely fit into one that is yours. So you shouldn't force it, you know. And it's very ridiculous when people force it, and it appears really awkward and it's really strange. But when you really make your work, when you adapt properly and you do what we're going to say today very well, you will discover how it works. I saw this like magic, really, when I applied for an opportunity to be one of the youth delegates or one of the youth nominees or representatives in the WHO meeting in Oman, and they had quite good number of applicants. They were selecting 20, and they had more than 500 applications, and I was one of the 20. So, and I know what I went through in putting out my application. So you can imagine that if you're not a square peg in a square hole as much as possible, and as reasonably as possible, as fluently as possible, you can as well forget about the opportunity. So I want to start by really saying that you should create your CV dumping ground. This is something I developed by myself, which is basically from common sense. See, what's a CV dumping ground? When you are growing up, when you're in school, when you're working, what you need to do is that you need to consider that you have experiences every day, and some of these experiences are so relevant for your future communication about yourself, your hard work. Some of you are passing through tough times, and you are able to go through those tough times through innovative ways. Some are ways that you are creating by yourself. you need to be able to know how to not only pass through situations, you need to know about using what you're learning. You need to know about using, for example, you watch a video, you attend a seminar, a workshop like what we're doing now, you get an opportunity to understand certain things about CVs, and then you reflect and you realize that you can put this particular thing you have learned in your curriculum vitae. So you should create a Word document or a standard curriculum vitae for yourself that allows you to begin to put together your skills. You know, you just go and you write down what you have learned, you write down what you have gone through, you write all of that, and then it becomes like your dumping ground. This dumping ground is not in a negative sense, but it just means that you cannot submit this anywhere. When you want to submit a CV, when you want to submit anything to anybody, you now come to this, your so-called dumping ground, and you now select and adapt based on what opportunity you want to submit in. This is very important, especially for those who are already working. When you are already working, you can find yourself in a particular committee. Your CV should have that information included in your committee. Your CV should have, your dumping ground should have that that information. You know, your CV, when you have your dumping ground, if you have like an opportunity to serve in a committee, you have an opportunity in a technical committee, you have an opportunity to do a very important thing in your organization, you should be able to bring that information and put in your dumping ground. In that way, when the time comes for you to pull out the information about who you are, to sell yourself, you'll be able to do that because you just go to the dumping ground and you go through your standard CV and you pull out the information that is necessary for your application. So that's the use of the dumping ground. So the other thing you do before you get a particular job, and I will say here that before you apply for a particular job, the principle of being a square peg in a square hole, the idea is that when you see that job opportunity, don't just jump onto applying to that opportunity. Go to that opportunity, check it out, go even to the website of the organization. We've had situations where some people come to job interviews. I've been on a panel where someone comes to job interviews, does not even know, wants to work in a hospital-based organization, for example, and has basically no information about that organization. They don't know what the organization's mission is all about. I mean, I'm not saying that you should go cram the mission, but you should have an understanding of where you're going to. You know, does where you're going to match what you're going to do or what you're aspiring to learn in life or to do or to achieve or to impact in or to assist in? You know, what value you're going to add to that organization? Does that value you intend to add, does it align? You know, you have to look at the wider context of what you're really doing. You're applying for a job to an organization. You need to know about that organization. You need to know basic things. Go to the website. If they don't have a website, check if they have a Facebook. Check around what you can do. You research about that organization. Look at their needs. Look at why they are taking that particular person. And I'll challenge you to go as far as contacting people within that organization, if you have the time and the opportunity, to ask questions about that opportunity. Ask about the expectations in that role. You can email and ask more information about it and be specific. Ask, you know, so that it informs you. When I was about to apply for my very first job, which is basically was writing a concours to become a finance clerk in the CBCL services, one of the things I did was I talked to somebody who was within the organization, in fact, two people, and they both encouraged me on the issue and gave me a lot of information that I used to make my decision. You know, I could have still not applied, but the information they gave me was useful for me to use to make my decision, the way I tailored my application, and even why I was getting into the job. And all of that served to inspire me through even the interview, because when you write, it was not just ending at the writing and the selection through the interview, through the writing part of the finance class exam. You had to go through to the interviews. So you have to be sure that you are really a square hole in a square peg in a square hole, and that you're highly motivated for that position. If they employ you and you yourself, you are not highly motivated, you can be very frustrated. You may be very irrelevant. And it's better to enter into an organization where you're already very relevant, and when you're highly motivated to be relevant and to continue to be relevant and to do your job. All of these are going to count towards your happiness and towards how you're able to work in the team, how you're able to embrace the organization, and how the organization embraces you. Some of us are so consumed with getting a job to the point where we do not really care whether this is a job that fits us, or whether we fit this job, or whether this is something that we will be motivated towards. We're just like, we want to get the job, we want to get the job. And what you're looking at really is about what enters into your hand as a paycheck, like as the money you have at the end of the day, and to use to probably get some watch you have always dreamed to have a watch, or something of that nature. But you need to realize that beyond all of these things, the things that sustain you in a job are not just the salary that you have from that job. The things that sustain you from a job are very important, and they deal with these things we're talking about. Evaluate the need, the rationale, the justification in that role, see whether you fit in that role, and whether you're motivated, whether you're ready to serve in that capacity, and then you go in for it. In that way, even your write-ups will be more meaningful as you get the job. So the way you do your research, again, is basically use the internet, call people, talk to people in that organization, and you go on. So about your CV, let's get into your CV proper. And the first thing I'll say about the CV before showing you the structure of a CV is really about the format of the CV. This is something that one of the experiences I have is that you just find somebody has written a couple of things, and the way they put it together doesn't really help you who is reading. You may see one portion of it is really tiny and difficult to read. You see some very large. You see the way things have been placed. It's not really readable. It's hard to read. It's difficult for someone to really quickly skim through. And like I've said, those who are going through those CVs are people who are seriously busy. And in fact, those people have piles and piles and lots of things on their table to do. So formatting simply means that the way you dress it, it's like the cosmetics around it. And this is very important, because readability, how something can be quickly and easily read. In fact, some managers just want to skim through. They don't even want to read detailing into what you have written. They just want to skim through. Skimming through means they just want to look and they see key things. And so the way you format it, whether you're the one typing it or you have gone to a documentation and they have helped you to type it, you have to make sure that you look through and try to see if it is well formatted. And by formatting, what do we mean? We mean that you should use, there's something called font, the kind of style that you use, and maybe font size. You could use between 12 and 14 font size, but these are just cosmetics. But make sure you use visible ones. Color. You don't, as a rule, when you're doing colors on a document, you try to keep it maximum to 4 colors. But in a CV, there is no reason to begin to put even up to 4 colors in your CV. Just maintain your black and white color with particularly background white paper, like normal white paper, and the black text. And it works. And then make sure that you do not have photos and images on your CV. And I've noted here that the key thing people are looking for in your CV are the skills that you are putting there, the things that you can do that relate to what they are looking for. I've put an exception here that no photos except for modeling. For example, let's say I know in modeling, for example, the people may want to see you and to see your picture, how you look and things like that. But assuming that you are not going for more, which is the case in most circumstances, you're writing your CV is not necessarily going to be a lot for modeling. But there is really no huge need to begin to put photos and all of that. And if you really believe strongly in photos and you must put a photo, I would say you should look for a headshot, a professional headshot. And how many people have those? I don't know. Definitely very few. So, but it's not a crime to not have those photos, and it's not absolutely necessary. I don't think anybody would sit there looking at your photo and probably smiling at your photo and saying, "Oh, you're very handsome, you're very beautiful, let's take her because she's handsome and beautiful," etc. We need to be careful with that. Maintain things professional and have no photos possible. When we're going in the structure of your CV, you're going to see the different things in the structure of your CV that should come in the structure of your CV. And they basically come in what are called blocks. I'm going to show you what that really means. But you should be able to bold your topics. Like if you are saying education, you want to start talking about your education, make it bold. You talk about your core skills and experience. You know, your personal profile, make it bold so that somebody quickly looking at it sees, okay, this stands out. This is education. If I want to see education, I go here. Don't put everything on the same style or on the same thickness and things like that. Now, when you have done your topics and you're going to the body, to the paragraphs, make the paragraphs short, make the spacing reasonable, and make the words let your words not be too many on each paragraph. Try to limit and make concise your words so that somebody reading anything on your CV whatsoever under any topic sees that it is really snappy, concise, precise, and it goes straight to the point and is short enough and conveys the specific skill you want to put under that particular topic. And consider using templates. There are so many templates that you can use to write your CV that have the structure that I'm going to show you after this. So many templates. You can have templates in Microsoft Word. Even in Microsoft Word in a computer, there is a template there. Let's say Microsoft 2000, Office 2013, 16, 19. You can have good templates there that you can adapt. You have Google Documents. You can just go to Google, type Google Docs. You open Google Docs. If you have a Google account, if you don't have, you create one. And then you can see several options in Google Docs that have CV templates. And you can keep your CV in 1 or 2 pages. And that is very important because no matter, like I've mentioned about busy professionals, you need to help them. And secondly, no matter how much you have gone through in terms of education, in terms of work experience, you can select the relevant. And after selecting the relevant, you can be concise in putting it. You can summarize. You can use the highest levels of your English language, or you can even ask someone to review for you and put it in a way that is as short as possible. Few people will need to have CVs that are 20 pages and 30 pages, or even 5 pages or 10 pages. So you need to ideally keep your CV around 1-2 pages and be able to serve with. So let's go to the structure. I'll first of all give you a structure, and after this, those who are going to reach out back to us, I'm going to email you a couple of templates that I've been able to pull, some very good templates that I'm able to pull together that you can have. So, but you have structure. You have structure. And for structure, let's start with contact details. Sometimes you have contact details right at the top, which is good. But contact details are is something that you should make. Of course, everybody wants everybody to know their contact details, but we'll show you detailing on what should be in contact detail. But the key things that should be in your contact details should be, if somebody wants to contact you directly, this is what they do. They get your email address, they get to your telephone, and that's point blank. It goes well. Your location. It's important to put your location. You don't need to put so much details about your address and the rest, but your location, as simple as Bamenda or Nkwen Bamenda, or you could say Oxford, UK. You could say, very simple in terms of location. Someone should be able to know that this is where you are at this point, because that simply has implications around, okay, if we want to employ this person, he's coming from this place. I'm in Douala, Cameroon, finished. Email address. So this contributes to keeping it short and simple. Then the next part of your structure is personal profile or leader profile. Some people just say objective, or they just put, you know, personal objective or career objective. But that particular portion is an introductory portion to your CV. I would say that this is one of the highest portions where you have to take time and reflect and write. In fact, if you could write and sleep and get up and review, and write and sleep and get up and review, and test your vision, test your application, test all of these things about square peg, square hole, and refresh your memory about what you're applying for and what you want to do. Look at that personal profile, that introduction. That's a key point. We're going to talk more about that and how important it is and how it leads the person reviewing your CV to go to the next section. And you have to know that if this one is not well written, you know, it doesn't attract the person reading, and it doesn't propel them to go to the next and maybe other sections. It may stop their interest from your CV. If it is not well written, it might not just be good for you. It might not give you give the person a good impression about you, or about your plans, or about how enthusiastic you are, or about how helpful you may be to their organization, which is what you want to show. You want to show that this organization is going to be benefiting from you when they get you. You want to do that. And the next thing is your core skills or an achievement. This is also very important because there's a way you communicate these core skills, and it will be in the next section. But you don't communicate these core skills by just, you know, naming those core skills. That will be in the next section. But in this particular section of core skills, you just want to keep, you know, a few skills you know you have that are related to that job, that are not just relevant to the job, but that stand out for the job. You know, you cannot be applying for an IT position somewhere, and then you're listing core skills, maybe certain soft skills that are not the primary skills that are needed. Soft skills are good, but you may have other hard skills and soft skills pulled together in your core skills. What are hard skills? Hard skills are like a major professional, tangible, measurable skills that someone can see you have. For example, if you know how to do programming, if you are a lawyer, we know that you know, lawyering is a profession. You know, law is a profession, and you know there's some skills you need to get to be able to conclude that you're a lawyer. If you're a medical doctor, it is clear that you have clinical skills. Those are some of the things we mean by core hard skills. You know how to repair computers because you have gone through training for that and things like that. And then soft skills are basically like social skills, skills that you use to function. You know, like within a team, you are capable of functioning in a team, teamwork, and some of those other skills. They are very important as well, because without those, you cannot function in an organization. But you could have hard skills, you could have soft skills, and if you don't have specific hard skills, depending on the particular position of interest, nobody can be interested in you, because it's important to have hard skills, and it's important to have the soft skills. So you need both. You need both the hard skills and you need the soft skills. So what else? The next block is education. This simply is just to show the schools you have gone to. I was reading one of my friends. There's one of my friends, Momo Bertrand. He's quite a fantastic guy, grown so widely, so wonderfully. He recently landed a job with the UN. And the guy has written his grades in his educational profile. And his CV is quite nice, quite impressive. But to have the courage to put your grades in your educational section, it means you need to understand exactly how that affects you in that particular job opportunity. So he has 3.93 GPA on 4, and he's glad to put it. I can tell you clearly that if he's applying for the same job with another person, he may likely get the job if that particular grade thing plays positively for him. So you shouldn't be, probably it starts from not joking with your school to the fact that when you are at the point of applying for your job, you look at what you have to get what you want. You know, this is something, of course, that can be proven. You shouldn't write grades that are not in your transcript. But this is just an example to say that it's not a problem even to write grades as long as you're comfortable with them and you know they play positively for you, but and that they're a strong point for you. But under education, the thing you want to portray in education is you want to look at the highest level of education you have. You pull together maybe the schools you have been to and the certificates you have obtained and things like that. Then experience. Experience is just about conveying the skills that you have with examples. Now, this experience portion is a very strong portion that enables you to add value to the skills that you picked and pointed and put on your CV above under the core skills. Now, if you have core skills up here and then you come down to experience, and you are not able to give experiences that demonstrate the fact that you have these core skills up here, then your CV is completely amiss. You're not saying what you really have. And I'm not sure that's going to go very well for you. And then there is this portion called hobbies and interests. Yes, the key thing about hobbies here is that, you know, some people just probably write something there, but you need to think about what you put here. Look at whether you have experiences that relate, or you have interests that relate, hobbies that relate. For example, if you're applying for a communications position, it makes sense for you to begin to talk about your hobbies around things related to that, you know, so that's simple about hobbies. Get relevant hobbies and put in your CV. So let me just add a few more things on a few more tips around each of those blocks for you. On personal details, like where you have your contact details, that's your contact details. This is what I said. Everybody wants to make sure that their contact detail is seen. If your employer goes back to, or your selecting committee, or whosoever is looking at your CV goes back, they should see those contact details. They can take it from there and they can contact you immediately. It should be top directly under your name. The contact details should be top directly under your name. This is your name, this is your contact details. Now, your email should be professional. It doesn't take anything big to create an email nowadays. Your email should be very professional. Somebody say, boys2men at yahoo.com. You know, and your name is probably, let's say your name is Ferdinand, and then you say your email is boys2men at yahoo.com. Or you just put some angel of love at email.com. You have to keep those aside and look at an email address that reflects what that is personal and that makes sense, that is professional, that is not laughable, that is not unnecessarily out of professional ranges. And then date of birth. Sometimes some people call for applications and they want to say, okay, you should be this number of years old. There are plenty of ways to check that. And I don't think the CV is one of the key ways to check that. It is less important. I'm not saying you shouldn't put this, but it is important for you to put it is less important for you to put your date of birth in your CV. Normally, you always have an application that you send in, you know, you could put your age there, and that's the quickest place where there is elimination, or there is, you know, selection of people when they're doing primary selection or primary elimination. So you can have your date of birth, but it's not as important in your CV. Your address, I said it's important to put your location, but don't spend time putting all your full address and all of that. So it's less important as well. And then your church. So many people want to make sure they indicate the church where they're coming from, particularly in religious organizations. Maybe that bias of trying to feel that you should be employed based on where you come from in terms of your church. I want to tell you that is less important. You know, any employer that would be employing based on the church where people are coming from, that is not as important even to that employer as the skills are. So I would say church is less important. So don't spend too much time on this, and then marital status is also less important. Location is important. Telephone is important. Email is important. Social media links is important. Right now, I will tell you very clearly that many people, the secret research that is done on anybody that when someone wants to really know whether this person is someone you should have beside you, one of the key ways is to get to their social media and see what they post and see what they're interested in. If you go to your social media, what I do in my social media is that I go to my social media and I review my posts from time to time, and I take out any posts that do not really reflect what I want people to see, to know, to understand about me. There are certain things I want people to know about me. For example, I want people to know about my Christian status. I want people to know about my interest in non-communicable diseases. I want people to know about my interest in youth development. I want people to know about my interest in community development. And so I want to make sure that in my social media, those things are reflected, because at any time I might have an opportunity that my social media will be the backup that shows that truly I am interested in these things and I do work related to these things. Some people are too, they don't like the social media issue. Some people don't like the social media, but the truth is that you basically just have to manage your social media profiles properly. You don't have to hate social media. Social media is not going away. Whether people like it or not, it is coming. There were times when some organizations used to even say block social media completely. But today, WhatsApp is basically a tool that is being used, for communication. So think about it. You may be applying for a job and just your experience and abilities to use either a business WhatsApp, and how many people even know that there is a business WhatsApp and there's a normal WhatsApp. You could highlight a skill that is related to a particular technology, a particular social media tool. If you're applying for communications positions and things like that, there are certain things you highlight that are related to social media. So you have some of your social media profiles that should be part of your personal details. So that's all about the personal details. And then let's look at the personal profile. Your personal profile, which is immediately under your personal details, like I said, is what will give, it's a paragraph, the opening paragraph, the first paragraph. It's like the sweet juice of who you are. This is where you brag. This is where you boast. I mean, of course, positively. This is where you put the things that are key to demonstrating who you are in capacity, who you are in terms of the job they are looking for, who you are in terms of what opportunity you are applying for and how you fit in that opportunity, how you aspire, how your aspirations align with that opportunity, to the point where if they probably miss you, they're missing a key thing for that opportunity. So it should be a succinct paragraph that summarizes your skills, shows your knowledge and your experiences, and it should be short and sharp. 5 sentences, 2 to 5 sentences packaged with, some of those things they are looking for, like the skills they are demanding. And, when I say void of cliches, for example, cliches are some awkward descriptions that sometimes we put, like I'm a hard-working team player. You just join a couple of skills and you string them as if you're putting them by force. No, this particular paragraph has to flow. It has to be a flow that links your aspirations, your purpose, your skills and your experiences. Like, for example, I am always there are things that I've gone through, skills that I've obtained, achievements that I've had that stand tall about my work and about my life and about my skills, about what I can offer in any opportunity I'm trying to apply for. So when I look at the opportunity, I understand exactly what that opportunity wants. Then I can convey a short paragraph of my personal profile that communicates my education, my aspirations, my soft, my hard skills, and my achievements in that paragraph. And it's like a juicy introduction to who you are, and causes the rest of your CV it's like it attracts the reader to say, let me find out more proofs from, and they will find out more proofs just from the next sections, because the next sections are not as concise as this particular profile. The next sections are going to detail, some of those things that they are looking for really as proofs to what you're saying up there that you are and that you can do, and that, that what you're presenting yourself to be, for that opportunity. So this personal, that's why I said that you may want to even write this personal profile very carefully, even the last. And sometimes you may start with it, but you may want to make sure that you review it later on and review it, like put the opportunity like a mirror, and then review your personal profile in such a way that it is heavy in content. It is heavy in the way it portrays you. It should be your face. Look at it like a picture of your whole body. And then, when there are different kinds of pictures you take. You can take a headshot, which is just your face from your chest and above, and then the rest of your body. There are pictures where you can take the whole body. Imagine your CV as your whole body, and imagine this personal profile as your head. When somebody sees your face, every time they should know that it is you. They should not see your face and think that it's another person. But then you go down and the rest of your body completes you. That's what this personal profile is all about. So in summary, that personal profile talks about your education. You can mention basically your highest level of education, which is of course relevant to that particular field. And then you can talk about your objective or your aspiration, your purpose, in like what you want, to do in life. What is it that you aspire to do in life? And then, when you write what you aspire to do in life and it is aligning with what the people are actually looking for, they say, hey, this person's aspirations really are, if this person were to be working in these organizations, their aspirations are not really different from what we are doing. They are not really different from the kind of organization we try to build. So he's a valuable, he can add value to our organization. That is how your personal profile is supposed to speak to the hirer or to the selection committee for your application, or that is looking at your curriculum vitae. Now, on the core skills, the idea in the core skills is that just pick, like 5 of them throughout your life, throughout your career. There can be more, like up to 10, depending on how many you really have that you can defend, But pick like some of those skills and put there. You may have gone to like I mentioned, this particular session also helps those who do not yet have any job experience, and you can use even just your education. There are some of you that have a degree in business administration. You should be confident if you really did your work well in school, did your internship, did your project, etc. You should be confident to say you have business administration as a core skill. So the idea is keep your core skills well selected. They should be unique. They should be those core skills that speak to the job opportunity or to the opportunity you're applying for, and then keep them in short words, like 2-3 words. Customer management, security, business administration, proofreading. You put those core skills and they work for you. And then the core skills are also a very good way to summarize exactly the things that people want to hear and to see about you. And when they are well targeted, meaningful, and true about you, that is what I mean by the square peg in a square hole. Because someone may just read the core skills and they're interested in you because they know you have this skill and that skill and this skill and that skill. Remember, these particular skills should be role-specific skills. People should not be looking for this kind of person and you're putting core skills that do not even rhyme with what that they should be thinking about when they're looking at that kind of a person. So your core skills are very important, and they should be a mixture of soft skills and hard skills. Hard skills, if you're a carpenter, what's your hard skill? The very fact that you're called a carpenter means you know woodworks. So hard skill simply means you are portraying, you are giving out exactly. If we advertise job opportunities, we say we're looking for a graphics designer. We're looking for a software developer. We're looking for, you should, if you are presenting hard skills, those particular job opportunities are speaking directly to specific hard skills, and you cannot be applying for those if you do not have those hard skills, you know. So you need to look at that. And it's the same thing with fellowships. It's the same thing with summits, conferences, opportunities. You need to look at what skills are they looking for. Are they looking for soft skills, hard skills? Which ones do you have, and how can you communicate them? Short and simple. And you get your soft and hard skills in that section. Put, you know, at some point, depending on the stage, the level at which you are in your job search, in your opportunities, you may put some qualifications, and those qualifications directly are skills. That's the same thing I mentioned with business administration, especially for those who have a particular you know, skill. I did medical lab technology as a minor in University of Boya. If I wanted to write, maybe when I was writing finance clerks, if I wanted to rather write something related to medical lab sciences, if I had to put an application, I would be putting MLT, you know, as I would probably say medical lab sciences, or find another description that conveys the fact that I am able to do some lab work. I'm able to use pipettes and all of those things that are used in the lab. You know, qualifications might just convey the skill itself. So think about that in your skills. You know, think about languages as part of your skills and IT skills. This is a world of IT right now. We're not going back. There is continuous increase in what happens as far as technology is concerned. So you want to make sure that the IT skills you have gained are reflected in this skills part of your CV. Don't waste this skills part of your CV. Make sure that you use it and put, you know, itemize. And it's a bullet point. Don't write paragraphs under core skills and achieve. Just put the bullet points there, and that reflect the skill set. Just go directly to the skill, and nobody needs to question you a lot about it before they understand it. It's just that skill. Just put the skill, and the skill will be read. Like I've said, it should be bullet points, and there should be interesting points about you, and there should be skills you have obtained. Some of you are probably having opportunities right now to do many things. It's fantastic how much opportunity this lockdown is giving to so many people. You have lockdowns and you have so many courses online that you can take. You have seminars that are being organized online, even like this one, that you can take. And you should be able to obtain skills from there. You know, get skills. There's acumen.com, there is edX, there is many courses that are going online. In fact, Harvard University has basically just made free some 50 courses, you know. And after this, if you email me, I can provide you those courses. Or you WhatsApp, I can send it to you. But realize that every opportunity you have along the way, whether you're still in school or you're out of school, think about the fact that skills are very important. What you can do with your hands, you know, this is what we need. We need people who can do something with their hands and produce results with that thing. You know, it's not just about seeing a nice name around a skill, and then you also go and take that name and put in your CV when you cannot probably defend it, or if you give you the job, you will not be able to defend it. So this core skills and achievement section, it's also very critical, and you should take time to build a list of your core skills that you have and that you can present to any opportunity. Now, work experience. This is a very important section which helps you to really convey supporting information about your skills. Many people think CV is just about work experience, pointing your work experience. If you look at what we've presented so far, and you look at your personal profile, you look at your core skills, you realize that this work experience portion is not necessarily the key role, even though when employers want to employ, they just summarize and say with 2 years work experience. What they're looking for, it may not necessarily be that work experience. You can spend 2 years and be terrible at what you do. But when work experience the way you write work experience should convey the skills, should show that the skills you are bringing are true. You have experience in those skills. And the way you write it is that you write it in chronological order. In reverse chronological order. What does that mean? You start with the latest work experience first, and then you go to the older ones last. For example, if I were to write about my job, my skills, I would start from my current employment. I'll go to my last employment. I'll go to the former employment, or even roles that I've played in those employments in reverse chronological order. Now, you should also give details of less details of older roles and more details of recent roles. You know, the most latest or recent roles that you have played that convey your skills and experience. Give more details about those. Why? Because when a job opportunity appears in front of you right now, that job opportunity is looking at not just the skills you are bringing on board, but how recent your ability to work in those skills are. And when you put your recent experiences, it conveys the skills that you have to the employer or to the selection team in such a way that they see that you are very current and you have these skills in you. They're still very fresh. You're still strong in them. So think about those kinds of details. And then you should add voluntary roles. This goes especially to those who do not yet have a lot of work experience. That's why it's very important for parents especially to make sure that you allow your children to get experiences. Use the holidays wisely. Get placements, get voluntary services, volunteer in organizations, volunteer especially in new and upcoming organizations, because most of these new organizations, that's where you can learn a lot of things. That's where you have opportunity to even learn so many things. There are key things in life you want to learn. Example, you want to learn passion. Passion is hard to learn when you are in a swamp. You know, but when you have a small new organization that is struggling to stand, and you have several things that need to be done for that organization to stand, if you have an opportunity to serve or to volunteer in that kind of organization, good for you, because you have an opportunity to create impact. You have an opportunity to manifest your skills, to learn new skills, to make sure that you handle as much as possible the different kinds of rules that provide you skill. We learn by doing. And so, but when you're in a bigger organization, yes, you can learn by seeing what others are doing. You can learn by seeing experienced people do a lot of things. But the closeness in utilizing passion to do what you have to do, you know, sometimes is lacking as far as bigger organizations are concerned. So, but that doesn't mean you cannot, of course, go to bigger organizations. That simply means that you need to make sure that you find passion in what you're doing, because by the time you communicate, it is the translation of that passion into the skills that you finally communicate at a point in future, because you were able to generate results from passion in working in a particular role or a particular domain, or in gaining a particular experience. It really works. It works strangely when you are able to flow in this kind of a way. So look at your school and other placements, your internships and things like that. And then watch out for the tenses when you use your work experience. For example, if I'm writing about what I'm currently doing, let's say I'm saying I'm president and CEO of Reconciliation and Development Association. When I go down to write more about the rules, I will not write in the past tense. You have to observe the tenses. So many people take their job employment letter and just copy the job description and paste on their CV without caring whether the tenses in the job description letter match with the tense that you are supposed to have in that particular section in your CV. You have to say, for example, I proofread, I'm in charge of proofreading organizational correspondences, reports, letters, and things like that. That shows that this is what you're doing at the moment. Now, but if you're talking about experience that you're no longer having right now, okay, you have to ensure that the tense is correct. You know, that point that translates the skill you obtained and the impact you had in that role as you were playing that role at that time. So you need to look at that. So in your work experience, the way you write it is you put the date you were employed or the date of that particular role, the name of the employer, because these are aspects of transparency about your work. The role that you play, the title, and then you place an introductory line that gives context to the person who is reading to understand exactly what that means, what that role meant for you. And then the responsibilities in bullet points. And that's where I say you need to watch out for the tenses, okay? And when you are stating those responsibilities, don't just say what they ask you to do. You should make sure that you carefully put those responsibilities in such a way that they convey exactly how your actions impacted the result of the organization, the result of the employment. So use as much statistics as possible. For example, I am very proud, of course, when I write to talk about raising more than $2 million US in grant money for the CBC Health Services as part of my work or my role as a grant writer and program manager. So if I put like that and somebody is interested in someone who can work in the organization and can support in raising funds for the organization, I bet you it's possible that I'm going to get the job. So, but right now I'm not looking for a job. But what's happening is you have to be able to learn how to put not just what you were told that this is your responsibility in your job description, but you have to actually convey those core skills you have through those job descriptions by pulling together the impact you created in that role, and this is, I think, very important. So show how your actions impacted the employer through the achievements that show those skills that you have, okay? For example, you talk about what, you were responsible for, you did this, that did this, improved sales, increased customers, you were able to hit this and this target, reviewed 100 pages of this, or more than 1,000 correspondences. I reviewed more than 3,000 correspondences in 2 years, in my work as administrative assistant. That makes your work experience part to be heavy and really speak more than just, saying, copying and pasting what you were given as a job description, perhaps. So this is a place where you need to take time on. Then let's go to the education block. In your education block, a good idea to put your schools. And this, if you are an experienced candidate, that means you have a PhD, you have all of this other large, educational background. This is advantageous to you. But now you need to know how to summarize all of that in another format, in a different format in your CV, in the education block. But for people who have little to put here, you can carefully put your schools, the subjects you studied, because the subjects you study always show the skill that you are expected at least to have. And if you are taking your studies seriously, please can everybody mute? If you are taking your studies seriously, then you probably have those skills. And so you should be able to put the subjects that you studied and even the grades that you achieved, okay? Put those things. And then under education, you can put some extracurricular activities that indicate, it also relevant to what you're applying for, but that indicate your activeness. Now we've talked about hobbies and interests. Sorry, I should probably mute everybody. Somebody is not able to help us right now. So, yep. So about hobbies and interests, we already mentioned in hobbies, this is a very interesting portion of your CV, which you shouldn't ignore, because you can put hobbies that show that you're a very distracted person, but you can put hobbies that show that you're a very collected, dedicated, organized, intentional person. For example, putting hobbies that and interests that relate to things like sports are very good, because it shows teamwork. You cannot play sports with other people without the ability to work in a team. And nobody wants people who don't work in a team, who are not capable of functioning with other people. And in a cross-cultural or multicultural setting, you want to make sure that people can work together. So putting and you can even put, if you have had like an award, you can mention it, like you were the best handball player in like in the organization where I came from last, we had a lot of sports, and sometimes you have a situation where the organization is playing with another organization and things like that. At those times, it's very easy for a manager to remember what you put on your CV. But at the time of getting your interview, of putting your CV such that it leads you to be called up for an interview, what you want to make sure that you put is very conducive, concise, beautiful hobbies and statements about your hobbies that allow people to see values in you that are needed by an organization professionally. Teamwork is what I'm talking about. Dedication is what I'm talking about. You can also show your interest by the kind of clubs you had in school. Not talking about nightclubs, but I'm talking about clubs like academic clubs, health clubs, environmental clubs. And this is interesting because you find in secondary schools, they are pursuing students to join clubs. I mean, like, if a student understands these things and how they're going to impact their life and how they're going to be useful, they will rush every year to make sure they're part of important clubs. And by the way, I want to announce and encourage that if you are in a school and environment and you want to start an academic club where you encourage students to perform better in academics, study skills, and then there are a couple of other things we have outlined, get into contact with me and we can start an academic club in your university or in your secondary and high school. So we're doing that as well in RADA. So that's what I'm saying about clubs. Then volunteering, you can show, when you talk about on your hobbies and interests, this is another place, especially for those who do not have a lot of experience. This is one of the places where you can showcase some of your inner skills. Volunteering in itself has a very good image, and so many people sometimes really do not see how important it is to volunteer. Every day, every time, people are looking for jobs, but you can actually find a way to volunteer, and that is a stepping stone to a lot of things for you. Make sure that your hobbies again are targeted. They show just very impressive things. Impressive achievement. They could be awards for sports or for writing competition, speaking competition, and things like that. And then they show that you are driven, and they can make you stand out. Your hobby may actually be one of the things that makes you just stand out. So in conclusion, we can provide you with some templates. You can go yourself, get in Google Docs. You can get some interview tips and watch them on YouTube, and you can get yourself prepared when you have your CV and your cover letter. Target your CV for your interview. Be ready for your new job roles. There are many other tips that we could have provided, but you have, like just as a recap of what we've said, make your CV 2 pages. Avoid using a string of wordiness like hard working, team player, just to pack words that show that, you're heavy, but that's not really what is being conveyed. It's not what's being conveyed, is not really what you are. Make sure you take care of your tenses in your different blocks in your CVs. Make sure you structure and format your CV in a way that is easy to skim through. Don't have a bad design or a complicated design. Don't put photographs. I don't encourage photographs unless it's specifically requested. Don't include photographs. It's not necessary. It's not useful. The most important things are what are the rest of the skills. And then make sure that your top portion of your name and your location and your contact is clear, that they can contact you. And just make sure that your CV is readable. It has good bullet points, short paragraphs, short, smart sentences. And then the ways you can improve your CV is that find ways to volunteer. Experience will add to your CV. That is very critical. and as you volunteer, make sure that you are useful, make sure that you're putting yourself to task, you're putting yourself to work, you can say about the experience, you can replace your work experience with there's so much experience you have from volunteering, and it works well for you. Look for opportunities and volunteer. In fact, we are also having volunteering opportunities, so you can go to our website and sign up for a volunteering opportunity there. Vocational courses, online and physical seminars, workshops, conferences, summits, apply for them, try to attend them, whether in school or out of school. Find courses online, get soft skills. Vocational courses give you hard skills, but soft skills can also be given by seminars, online, and the rest. So thank you very much for coming and for listening to this session. And I know that I've been in a marathon, speaking like in a marathon, and hoping that you probably had the opportunity to understand the things that I presented. And now I want to open up for questions so that we can then discuss specific questions that you may have. And then I'm sure that there are people among us that have experience also with CVs, and they can help answer some of the questions, but I'm ready to answer some of the questions and to give you the responses that you might probably need. So thank you very much, but you can also write to us after the sessions and we can be able to respond to you. Thank you so much. So we can open up for questions right now. I'm going to unmute everybody and try to manage participants in such a way that when people have noise on their background, we can mute them. So I'm unmuting everybody. So time for questions.
Good evening, Fidi.
Good evening. So you can just say your name and then you can post your question or comment. Right. Yeah.
I'm called Clinton Yefenyu, and I'm happy with the lesson. It has been so impactful. But I have a worry. If you are a person with disability, either hearing impaired or any kind of, is it advisable for you to put in your CV, or does it fall in your CV or your cover letter?
So if you are somebody who has a disability, I personally think it's generally very important to disclose that you have a disability, because it helps the employer, of course, to know exactly how to include the person with disability in the whole process, either of interview if you are qualified, or in terms of the job. So it's important to disclose it, and I think you should disclose it in your cover letter, in your application, or in your cover letter. That's what I would say. It's best to include it in your handwritten or typed application to the employer. But that doesn't stop you, of course, from indicating some a CV is really about selling yourself, communicating some of the high points. There are times that as a person with disability, there may be things you're actually doing or that you have achieved despite your disability that you can leverage and they can be very strong points for your CV, and for your application. So I think it's something that while you need to disclose about your disability, it's important to make sure that you're also putting it in a way that is not about trying to you're not trying to attract pity to yourself, like employment by pity. You want to make sure that you are employed because of your ability, despite your disability. So I don't know if there's if that works, if that helps you, but that is the response I'll give for that.
Thank you.
Would you like to do a contribution to that?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Ezekiel Bedu, and I have worked in the disability sector for a couple of years now. Generally, when you do an application, what organizations would require these days is that when they send out a call for applications, then they would ask you to indicate if you would need additional support. And that comes with asking questions around the various kinds of impairments. Would you need support in terms of visual, so on and so forth? Would you need support in terms of physically accessing your environment? So organizations are going towards that route. What it means is that you generally, like Fedi mentioned, may not always have to start by trying to advertise the impairments that you have. You simply present your CV, and then where the employer has required for additional support that you may need, then you could state that. And generally, once you say that you will need visual aids or you would need hearing aids or auditory support or physical access to the environment, that speaks for itself. Now, in the case where they do not mention that and you're submitting your CV, you're probably just going to write a statement that says, in the case where you are shortlisted, you would need support in accessing the physical environment. So that the first thing that they are saying is not the disability that you have, but that they are saying the entire package that you have in your CV, and then understanding that in case you're pre-selected, this is the kind of additional support that you may need in order to be able to deliver to their expectation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Benu. This is a very important point, and the aspect of inclusion is something that we all should. That question is really very critical and very important. In fact, we need to always be able to approach it that way, and make sure that you're not trying to attract pity to yourself, because you will have more pity when you rather advertise your disability in that manner, and then in the end you get the job and you cannot do it, and things like that. You would be more pitiful. So this is really an important point, and I hope the answers have helped you, Euphemia, and the rest of the participants. I hope it's helpful. So do we have any other question? Yeah, somebody is talking. Okay.
Yeah, this is Torres.
Yes, Torres, we can hear you. Torres, we can hear you.
I don't know if I can just repeat my. Yeah, I don't know if you can make a cover letter.
Sorry, Torres, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, I just need you to throw more light on a CV, a resume, a motivation letter, and a cover letter.
Okay, a CV, a resume. So one of the first ways I would like you to look at this is just from the definition of the names of what of these different documents you've just mentioned. Now, CV and resume are usually used interchangeably and almost like the same thing, because it just tries to convey the same thing, a summary of your work information and your skills that basically advertise you for a job opportunity or for any other opportunity. You can take that for a CV or a resume. Sorry, I'm forced to mute everybody, but I'll call on everybody to try to maintain a background that is void of as much noise as possible. So a cover letter on the other hand, just from the name itself, helps you to it's like so if you look at something like the personal profile section of your CV, first, it is short and it speaks to your presentation as a whole. But a cover letter, a cover letter, normally you can either have an application letter or a cover letter, or sometimes they call it a letter of interest. An application letter, for example, is basically to express your interest for that particular opportunity. There is nothing additional per se than an honest, humble expression of interest to partake in a process that has been launched. And in that particular application letter, it always has a standard format. Let's say just including it's a formal letter, and you want to put to make sure to show that you're addressing your package to the right recipient, or to the right address, sending it to the right address. So that's why you have a formal format where you have your address and your addressee's address and your addresser's address and your addressee's address. And then, of course, you follow the formal format to put the rest of the things in place, plus 1 or 2 paragraphs expressing your interest and probably just why, a short indication of why you're interested in that. Sometimes you have people ask you to write a purpose statement. So you can have any of those names, but in most cases, there will be a detailed explanation of what the content should be. Let's say in a purpose statement, if you're applying to a university, for example, or a conference, or an opportunity, a fellowship, they will always indicate to you what should be the content of that purpose statement. That one, I don't think you will have a big problem. But the simplest form of that cover letter or that application letter, that is the top portion of your package. You know, your package may contain that your cover letter, and then your CV, and then the rest of the documents that have been prescribed by the opportunity or by the call. The simplest form of that application is for you, the best way you can understand it is an expression of your interest to partake in that process. And then it just provides some of your basic information. So in case the employer wanted to look through, you know, they don't have to go through to everybody's CV to look at who is it that is applying. They can basically just look at the cover letter, and they have key information about who is applying and for what opportunity and things like that. So you basically indicate, you know, your interest, and then the opportunity you're applying for. Maybe you say things like based on your advertisement for this particular opportunity in you know, on your website, or maybe you mention where you saw it and things like that. So and that's what that cover letter should have. It shouldn't have so much details like you have in your CV. But in case you have to have details, in most cases you will have a description of what details you should put in that cover letter, or in that purpose statement, or in that letter of interest. I hope that helps. I don't know if there's any addition to this particular point from the rest of the participants. Or if not, then we can have another question. Do we have another question? Can we take like 3 more questions, and then we can come to the end of the session? Please ask your questions. There are people here who can help you. This is really an opportunity for you to strike out some of the questions you might have about your CV or curriculum vitae. It should help you. So if you have any question, any doubt, you can ask them.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Shipli Ismail. I just wish to ask you whether it is it important to put the links to the documents or to the organization that you describe in your CV. The organization, you have one organization in your CV.
Sorry, your question didn't come through very well. Can you ask again?
I'm asking whether can you put the links of the previous organizations you've worked with, or maybe the links to your documents on the Google Drive, your CV.
Okay, so for the organizations you have worked with, I think it suffices to put just the name of the organization. So under work experience, you put, like we mentioned, you put the date for which you worked in that particular organization or in that particular role in the organization. And then you put the name of the organization, and that is sufficient. The employer can decide to do more research on that, but I don't think you have to increase the words in your CV and increase the content of your CV with things that may not necessarily be needed. And I don't think it's needed. As long as that organization is I mean, it's true, some people might fake organizations, but there are always many ways, to detect that throughout the process. And even the CV itself can be able to detect that, based on the congruity of the CV. But it's okay, I think, to just write the organization, the name of the organization as it is, the right name of the organization, and that would be sufficient. If you do your CV and maybe you still have a few lines on your pages and you want to put some reference documents or reference materials with respect to your work, that prove your work. If at all those have not been asked, because in most cases they will be asked, for example, in conferences or in fellowships or in applications that you're submitting to organizations abroad or things like that, they might intentionally ask you to show proof of the work you have done. And in that way, you might have articles that are hosted on the site of the organization that you worked in. You might want to create an space to put those in an appropriate section in your CV. It could be still in the work experience, but it could also be at the end where you put references to specific work that you have done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I saw a hand from Hansen. That should be the second to the last question. Hansen, over to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, you've already answered part of my question with respect to the references he asked about. And there was a point I did not understand on the personal, where you said school other placements. I did not get that. The connection was not good there, so I did not understand clearly what it was. And I'm also interested to know, how can we link up with you? Because in the advert to this, I did not see any email or a WhatsApp group that we can join to get material or to connect with you after this.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I need to understand which section you mean when you talk about schools and other placements. Was it under your personal profile or?
Under work experience.
Sorry?
Work experience.
Under work experience. Oh, okay, under work experience. So under work experience, when we talk about school and other and other placement, this means that when you are a student, you might have opportunities like to be you can be given opportunities to be placed to work in a particular domain in a place, and then maybe for 2 months or 1 month or 2 weeks. And what we're saying is that you shouldn't minimize those placements that you had. You should make sure that you grab them. You understand that those are also experiences you got, and specific skills you had from there count towards the total skills that you have that you can present as yourself, that you can use to sell yourself. So make sure that you catch even placements. This includes even internships that, sometimes they say you must have an internship. That is sometimes a requirement for graduation. And when you go for internships, you basically have an opportunity to not only to learn, but you learn, you practice some skills, and by the time you come out from school, some people still say, oh, they're asking for work experience, and I don't have work experience. But you did a 3-month internship somewhere, and all you can say about it is just to say internship. But what we're saying here is that when you are conveying your work experience, know that some of those placements can also count for the kind of experience you have obtained, that can be counted as work experience, and that you can convey in your CV in a way that shows that you have a particular skill that you obtained during that kind of a placement. So those are just the list of different areas you can get work experience, and that you should be able to bring it into your CV when you write about your work experience. Does that help?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much.
As for contact, I'll just post our website on the chat section, and anybody can actually be able to get to the contact page and then contact us there. Yeah, you can contact us. If you cannot see that, then I think everybody can access the chat section.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Fedora, can you post as well? I think I'm seeing just post privately to Leonard here, but okay, I think it's fine now. I think, can everyone see the contact page? You can also WhatsApp me. WhatsApp me on that number. So, or you can go to where you got this link, and you can trace our former contact in that space. If it's on Facebook, you can contact us on Facebook as well. You can still contact us on WhatsApp. I think we have the last hand from Sevidum Leonard. Over to you, Leonard.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening,
Hello?
Leonard. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Leonard. Leonard, over to you. Go ahead. We can hear you. Okay. It looks like Leonard is not able to connect. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, Leonard, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so happy being with you guys today.
Thank you, Leonard.
Please, I'm to the body of the CV. When you were talking about the core skills or the achievement, you did mention something about the soft skills. And also at the level of you mentioned something about extracurricular activities. I wish to know the soft skills you mentioned at the level of the core skills, is it something that you do probably pertaining to what you are applying for, or other extracurricular activities can come in? Like, for instance, like I am, if you are a health personnel and you want to go in, you want to apply probably for the post of the health personnel somewhere, and the soft skills you acquire probably are something, maybe let me just say, the things I think of as soft skills are maybe you're able to, you can play music, you can play the guitar, or you're
Those
a
are
good
hard skills. Those are hard skills.
okay.
Playing music, playing guitar are hard skills. So the first thing is that you need to understand what soft skills are and what hard skills are. Okay.
Probably that.
Yes. And what we're saying is that soft skills are intangible. They are not things you can touch. Hard skills are basically tangible skills. For example, when you say someone is a doctor, there is already a specific thing you know the person should be able to do. If you say someone is a surgeon, you know there is a specific thing the person can do. If somebody is a lawyer, you know there's a specific thing the person can do. Somebody is a musician, somebody is a shoe mender, is a carpenter, you know their hands. There is a specific skill they already have that they have learned, that they know, that is unique, you know, that can achieve results. But soft skills are social skills, skills that are not seen, skills that are behavioral. For example, your ability to work under pressure is a soft skill. You cannot measure, you cannot say you can work under pressure 10 times. Or you cannot say your ability to work under pressure is 9 on 10. Are you getting me? And then you see something. Another soft skill is like leadership. You know, another soft skill is teamwork. Teamwork. These are soft skills that are usually highly, very, very highly sought after by organizations. Okay, you have something like if you have something like let me see the kind of let's talk about something like data analysis. Do you think it's a soft or a hard skill?
Analysis is more of a hard skill.
Okay, somebody may say it's a soft skill because it's dealing with software. But that's not the way you look at it. You know, it's a hard skill because you are actually having a skill to do a tangible, a specific thing that you actually learn. Like it's something you basically have to I would say practical. It's a vocational practical skill. I think you get it. You know, but something like teamwork is a soft skill. Your ability to work in a team and not you know, a team of people. You know, it's those are the kinds of skills that are called soft skills. You know, so the basic thing is to understand the difference between soft skills and hard skills.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone, for partaking in this session. And it was really amazing to have everybody present here. And please go to where you had the opportunity to join this conference call, and you can get back to us through that platform. It could be Facebook or WhatsApp. I think those are the only two platforms. On the website, you can feel free to write to us at info@regdev.org, and you can ask any question. And please get back to us, because when you get back to us, we will then email you the soft documents for this session, for this session. So thank you very much, and I wish everyone a very, very, very nice rest of your evening.
Eddie, before you go, I would like to comment.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Say that you have done very well to think about this and to start this kind of sessions, because it's very relevant, especially for people who are possibly just trying to start career. In as much as you haven't dealt exhaustively around career orientation, I guess the discussion on building a CV already begins to give people some ideas on what they should be taking into consideration going forward with their careers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for organizing the session. I know that Zoom session, generally the unlicensed Zoom session lasts for 45 minutes. This one seems to have gone beyond that time.
That's right.
Which implies that you might have paid for a license to run this.
Yes, sir.
So are you managing things around cost? Is this some nice offer coming from somewhere to young Cameroonians or young Africans to develop their careers, or it's something you're deciding to do as your own contribution to building people's skills and future?
So this is something we are doing to actually build skills. When we plan to organize the physical version, we wanted to charge 2,000 francs, which was going to be for some of the materials and then for the breakfast and lunch that they were going to have. But because of COVID, we couldn't. And so we are just doing this as we're starting. The only, I think the benefits we have as RADA for doing this is that we get an opportunity to impact. That's the first thing, which is what we want to do in our mission. But then also we have the opportunity to have a host of young people that we can work with, and who are interested to work with us, they can work with us. Like for the volunteering opportunities that we have, we are looking for young people that are highly motivated, intentional, level-headed, and willing, that are also passionate about the same things we're passionate about, that can and will have the right values and the right mindset to work with us to continue to create that impact. So, but for now, it's still an internal expense from RADA, and it's still our sacrifice towards empowerment.
Okay, thanks for explaining that. I guess that also helps others on the call to be able to appreciate the contribution that you're making towards developing people's careers and opening them to opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the closing remarks that we almost missed. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe before we close the meeting, I would just like to propose that maybe next time, can we have something like after the session, we have something maybe like exercises posted on the website for people to get to do in order to actually, so that we can be able to actually understand if they have understood what was taught in the session.
Yes, I think that's a brilliant point. And I would encourage every participant who have need for continuous support on this to email us in using the link, and then we can also provide, because one thing is that it's important to keep the sessions as short as possible so that participants can sustain. Some might not have airtime, enough data, and things like that. But let's have the opportunity to email the templates to the participants, and then you can do your CV, and you want us to review your CV. I think our team is ready to support you in that. In that way, we'll also be able to know whether you have understood. But the other additional thing we would like you to help us do is that we would, when you write to us, we will also send you a short survey about the session, so that you give us feedback on how the session went, and it can help us to keep improving the sessions and doing better at delivering these sessions to the people we have to deliver the sessions to. So I don't know if that helps to an extent. Bienvenue, you asked the question, I guess.
Yes. It It does. The
It
response
does.
does.
Please,
Yes.
so please just email us. Go to the chat, email us, please. Get into contact, and then we email you the rest of the CV templates, and we go on from there. All right. All right, that calls us to the end of the session. Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay.
Goodbye. Goodbye.